Idaho is stranger than it's willing to admit. They actually try and hide how odd some of their places are. Meanwhile, there are states out there that embrace and even advertise their weirdness. Nevada practically puts up a neon sign that says, "Bad decisions welcome." Florida doesn't even bother explaining itself anymore. It just is Florida. Oregon leans into it like it's part of their brand. Idaho? They try and play it cool, but we all know they got some weird places in this state. Let's take a look. Stop 1. Craters of the moon. You don't ease into the craters of the moon. There's no gentle transition of landscapes, no scenic buildup where the trees slowly thin out and give you time to emotionally prepare for what you're about to see. 1 minute, you're in Idaho. The next minute, the front yard of Luke Skywalker's boyhood home. The ground turns black, jagged, broken, like somebody broke the earth and didn't stick around to clean up. What actually happened, between 15,000 and 2,000 years ago, this region experienced repeat volcanic eruptions along the Great Rift, a massive crack in the Earth's crust stretching roughly 50 miles. Now, this wasn't some dramatic cinematic explosion where lava went into the air and it changed the Earth's weather pattern for 5 years. No, this one just kind of bubbled up and kept bubbling and kept bubbling. Lava oozed out, spread, cooled, and kept on going. Layer after layer, wave after wave, no drama, just relentless lava doing what lava does if it's really lazy. If you were around back then, there wouldn't have been some single catastrophic moment. That it would have been much worse. A creeping, unstoppable problem. And everyone's looking around going, hey, the Earth's on fire again. Maybe we should move. Even the Shoshone people described it in myth as a serpent thrashing beneath the earth, splitting it open and spilling fire, which honestly is less metaphor and more accurate field reporting if you ask me. Then in 1960, NASA showed up, because apparently if you're preparing humans to walk on the moon, the closest thing you can find to the lunar surface is in Idaho. Now, what's really strange about this place is it's not just how it looks, it's how this land behaves. Sound doesn't carry the same way it does in other places. Vegetation exists, but sparsely, like it's unsure if it wants to really commit to the area. The sky feels bigger and harsher at the same time. And then, of course, you got the lava tubes, caved formed when molten rock drained out, leaving hollow tunnels behind. You could walk into these things, that's how big they are, which sounds adventurous until you remember that you're inside something that used to be liquid fire. The whole time you're wondering, I wonder if today's the day this thing comes back to life and melts everything, including me and $500 worth the REI stuff I bought for this trip. What's really strange is some of the caves you'll see, they have ice in them. Craters of the Moon is nature without a PR team. It doesn't care if you're comfortable. It doesn't care if you understand. It exists the way scars exist. Evidence of something that happened, not something meant to be admired. And yet we turn it into a national monument and said bring water and good shoes. Probably legit hiking boots or at least a good pair of Nike trail running shoes. But this place is just weird. Number 2, Arco, Idaho. The first city ever powered by atomic power. Now that's the first strange step into Arco. This place is in the middle of nowhere, it's not that big, but for some reason, they were an important part of the atomic era. This is not a big town. It's actually in the middle of nowhere and it's small, very small. Matter of fact, their population peaked in 1960 with about 1,500 residents. Right now, they have less than 1,000. In 2020, it was about 879, and the prediction currently in 2026 that it's actually 835 right now. But the fact that it got atomic power first is only the first weird thing. This whole place is just an oddity once you actually get involved and start looking around. As you're driving down the main road through Arco, you'll see something strange off the road. In the middle of this little nothing town in the middle of nowhere, Idaho, just off Highway 26, you'll see the top of a submarine just jutting out of the grass like it's about to surface in the middle of Idaho. As if that's not weird enough, it's got the numbers 666 on it, and if anyone is slightly religious, you know 666 is the sign of the devil. Now, when this was an active submarine, it was known as the USS Hawkbill, but that's not what people called it. They called it the Devil Boat or the Devilfish because of its hull number 666. Well, even though the whole thing about atomic power kind of faded away, Arco didn't let that notoriety slip away. They got the Hawkbill, put it right there in the middle of this little park, and it was one of the early nuclear-powered boats. They have a little visitor center, museum type thing, whatever you want to call it there, and they've got some other things that have to do with nuclear power and atomic power. But it's just weird because you don't expect something like this to be happening in the middle of the Idaho outback. But while you're at this park, look up in the hills and you're going to see another oddity. The rocks above town are spray painted with a whole bunch of numbers. And that hill is called Numbers Hill. What it is the Butte County High School has a tradition of each class since 1920 painting its graduation year on the face of the hill, on the rocks up there. Now, if you don't know that, you're looking at all this atomic stuff, you see those numbers up there and you're like, what is that all about? And when I first saw it many years ago, I didn't clue in and I didn't know. I thought it was like the number of deaths every year from atomic power or something like that. I don't know. Then come to find out, just a bunch of kids that graduated. But there's something both admirable and slightly unhinged about this level of commitment to atomic power. Most towns would mention it on a sign, welcome to Arco, the first nuclear-powered city. Arco's not doing that. They're getting part of a submarine and they're planting it in the grass, and then they're going to start putting numbers on rocks to freak people out. At some point, it stops being a tribute and starts feeling like a ritual, I guess. Stop number 3, Atomic City. Just down the road from Arco, you'll find Atomic City. You drive through open land that feels like it's stretching just a little too far, and then you see a sign, Atomic City. If you haven't been to Arco yet, you probably already have questions. Why are they called Atomic City? This place was born in the 1950s when atomic meant progress. The nearby Idaho National Laboratory was a hub of nuclear research, early reactors, experimental energy, and big ideas about the future. Wasn't weird back then. It was optimistic. It had residents, businesses, momentum. It made sense in context. The downside is that context didn't last long. In 1960, this town peaked with 141 people. As of 2020, they lost 100. There's only 41 people living there back then, and they estimate that it's actually 38 right now. So it's not abandoned, which would almost be easier. It's just reduced in a big way. A few residents, sparse activities, buildings that feel like they've been waiting for something that already happened. And yes, there's a bar. There's always a bar in a place like this. Not as a novelty, but as a necessity for the locals. But Atomic City is what happens when you build a town around an idea instead of a foundation. The idea fades, the infrastructure stays, and slowly turns into a major eyesore. Now you got a place that sounds like it's futuristic, but it feels like it missed the cue by about 60 years. Now you've got a town that sits off State Highway 26 in the middle of nowhere, doing nothing, just existing and waiting for the last person to move away. Eventually there's going to be one family or one person living in this town. And I don't think that's too far in the future. Stop number 4, Albion, Idaho. The town that forgot to leave. All right, this town is weird, but it works. It can handle weird, and they got a whole lot of it. Albion's got a long history, and the place didn't really evolve. It pivoted, and it really didn't keep up. Albion hit the pause button sometime around 1973 and just never got back on track. It's a town that seems like it's waiting for someone to come back that left decades ago. Now here's their backstory. Albion used to be a place that had momentum. This is back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. They had schools, they had businesses, they had houses, and that vibe of, hey, we're going to be here a while, so unpack. Then the Albion State Normal School shut down in 1951. And that was basically the town getting the wind knocked out of them. This isn't some town that was destroyed by lava. No explosions, no headlines. It just slowly deflated. People packed up, businesses folded, but the building stuck around and nobody told them the party was over. Now, if you don't know what a normal school is, it's a teacher's college, and they decided to move that to one of the universities back in the day, and that kind of killed the town. The town back then did have some momentum, and it was going to be a legit city, and then it just kind of stalled. There's people living there to this day, and they've still got things going on, but not like they used to. Now when you drive through town, it looks like a normal place. The buildings are all there, the houses are all there, there's just not a lot of people there. The population here peaked at the 1960 census with 610 residents. The next few decades were kind of rough. They lost 200 people each decade from 1960 to 1980. Currently, the town only has 234 residents. Normally, when a town starts to fail, they kind of lean into something to bring people back, and that's exactly what Albion did. Albion isn't a ghost town, but it sort of seems like one. They've got an abandoned school that is beautiful. It's a whole campus. Just sitting there doing nothing. Sort of. The locals decided it would be a good idea to take that abandoned school and make something happen with it. And they did. It's the site of 5 haunted houses, and it is a popular tourist attraction thanks to paranormal investigations. People actually drive hours to go see these haunted mansions. For good reason, it appears. They look like they're very well done. I've never been to these, but I've watched a bunch of videos while researching this, and it looks like they go off every October. This town is out in the middle of nowhere also, so it just adds a little more P factor to the scariness. You drive an hour or two out there, you get there, you get scared a little bit, then you gotta drive back on a dark road in the middle of nowhere. Just praying you don't see a hitchhiker with an axe on the side of the road and the driver feels compelled to stop and pick him up. Besides the haunted house, Albion is borderline ghost town. It's still technically alive, just quiet in a way that feels unintentional. Until October. Stop 5. Dog Bark Park Inn. About 6 hours north of Albion, you have Cottonwood, Idaho. Cottonwood isn't too far from Lewiston, Idaho, and it's really close to where Idaho, Oregon, and Washington meet. Now, this one isn't about the town of Cottonwood, it's about something that goes on in Cottonwood, or used to go on. Off of Highway 95 in Cottonwood, Idaho, you will see the Dog Bark Park, and it's been a popular roadside attraction since its creation in 2003. And until 2024, it was also a guest house where visitors from far and wide came, and it worked as an Airbnb. You could stay in this giant beagle carved of wood off of Highway 95. Husband and wife Dennis and Francis were artists, wood artists for the most part. Dennis is a self-trained chainsaw artist, and he started carving things. And I guess they really got into carving these little dogs. Well, they were selling them, and then they got on QVC, and that changed everything. Sometime in the mid-90s, their wood carvings made it onto QVC, and their business took off. They said that they did nothing but carve dogs for 18 months because they were a little overwhelmed with orders. Their kids barely got to see them. With the money they got from the QVC thing, they built up their park and eventually turned a giant one into Sweet Willie, where people could stay, and it became a bed and breakfast. In 2024, they decided to start winding things down for retirement, and they closed Sweet Willie as a bed and breakfast, and then finally retiring in 2025. Now, it's all there still. They're just not selling anything, or they're not doing Airbnb or bed and breakfast stuff at all. But it is kind of strange seeing it off the side of the road. Stop number 6, Bayhorse Ghost Town. If you head up into the mountains north of Sun Valley, Idaho, things get quiet. Not like peaceful cabin getaway quiet, more like did the world just mute itself quiet. Then you roll into Bayhorse, and suddenly the silence has personality. It's the kind that makes you check your phone for service when you already know there's no service up here. Back in the late 1800s, Bayhorse was booming. Silver mining, busy streets, people working, living, arguing about who borrowed whose shovel. The full small town experience with outhouses. They even had one of those massive charcoal kilns that looks like a giant stone beehive, which is either industrial history or the world's oldest failed pizza oven. Then the silver dried up, and like a bad group chat, everyone just left. No speeches, no closures, just fewer replies until it was nothing but there. Now what's left is eerie in a very specific way. The buildings are still there, standing just upright enough to remind you what this once was. You could see the streets, the layout, and how everything worked. Your brain keeps trying to add people back into the scene like it's buffering a memory. But nothing loads, no footsteps, no voices, just wind doing its best impression of a ghost that doesn't get paid enough for this gig. And here's the part that gets you. We all like to think places matter forever, that once something is a thing, it stays a thing. Bayhorse basically shrugs and says, yeah, about that. This place was everything to someone at one point. Jobs, family, future. Now it's just standing there like a paused movie on VHS nobody ever returned or rewound. No big dramatic ending, just a slow fade into silence, so complete it almost feels deliberate, like the town decided, you know what, we're good. We're just gonna keep it right here. All right, before we get to our last stop, if you're thinking about moving anywhere in the United States, there's a link for Home and Money in the description area below. They can get you in touch with a real estate agent anywhere in the country. All right, on to our last stop. Stop 7, Balance Rock. By the time you get to Balanced Rock, you've already seen enough oddball Idaho stuff to think, all right, I'm ready, I could do this, I've built up a tolerance. No, you haven't. When you first see this on video or in a picture, right away you're thinking, oh great, more AI BS. No, this is real. It's a 40-ton rock casually perched on what looks like a glorified toothpick, shaped by erosion over thousands of years. Wind and water basically chipped away at everything that wasn't stubborn enough to hang on. Standing there, it looks like it's about to fall over any moment. Not eventually, not someday, like right now. During your visit, specifically to ruin your afternoon. Your brain keeps trying to fix it like, that's not stable. That thing doesn't know how gravity works. What is going on with this freaking rock? This rock has been perched there longer than most civilizations have had decent plumbing. Pictures don't do it justice. Photos make it look like a roadside gimmick. In person, it feels like you're watching a mistake that refuses to correct itself. And that's kind of how most of Idaho works in a nutshell. Not flashy weird, not trying to impress you, just quietly breaking the rules like it's bored. It honestly looks like something you'd find on another planet or in some science fiction movie. Balanced Rock is one of those things you should see if you're in Idaho. All right, that's Idaho. They're not trying to impress you. They're not out in your face with all the weirdness like Portland, Oregon, or Las Vegas, or Austin, Texas for that matter. Idaho is just got some weird things, weird towns, weird places, still a great state. Everyone have a great day. Be nice to each other. Put this at the 6:05 mark, Thor.